You probably have a savings account already. Maybe it's the account that you have created since you're a student. Or maybe it's the big national banks in your country. But is it really the best saving account there is? Well, unfortunately, it most likely is not. In this video, I'm going to show you how to choose the best savings account with 3 simple rules. And you can apply it anywhere in the world. But since I'm in Australia, I'm going to use Australian Bank as an example. So, let's get into it. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nicky Sujadi. I create relatable and empowering contents like this. So if you like personal development, personal finance, or anything related to millennials like us, do consider subscribing because that is what this channel is going to be about. Well, in this video, I want to talk to you about savings account. How do you choose savings account? So there are 3 simple rules to choose the best savings account. That is the highest savings rate. It cannot be an introductory rate, and it has to have 0 cost, which makes absolute sense. And it seems so obvious. It seems so obvious that, you know what, it's like no shit. Why do you even tell me the obvious? But surprisingly, not a lot of people actually follow these rules. And I was actually one of them. I used to just go with the big banks. And yes, I always think that the big banks has the highest interest rate and highest reliability, highest reputation, blah, blah, blah. The big is always better, right? So if you choose the big banks, I guess you can't really go wrong with that. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong because when I did my research, it is not true at all. It was actually because I read a book called The Barefoot Investor, which I highly recommend if you haven't really checked it out. And it actually proved the fact that big national bank, they have such a high overhead cost that they are giving you very, very peanuts interest rates and might even charge you a lot of fees for you to use it. So let's look at an example. I used to use Commonwealth Bank, which is one of the big banks in Australia. The Commonwealth Bank is currently giving you 0.05%, and they even have introductory rate of 0.95% only for 5 months. Okay, and yeah, you might argue, how do you know whether these are high or low? You kind of have to compare it with another bank, right? So I'm gonna introduce you 3 other banks that to me personally I would recommend. And by the way, I'm not endorsed by any chance by these banks. I think I'm still small fry to be endorsed, and this is just my personal preference, so do your own research. This is not me giving you financial advice. I'm personally using ING Bank, which gives you 1.65%. Now compare that with 0.05%. Even the introductory rate of 0.95% in Commonwealth Bank, it's not even close to 1.65%. And this was already just recently reduced, just like a month back, from 1.8%. Last year it was even 2.1% when I actually just started joining ING. Another example is Upbank. Upbank gives you 1.6%, while MeBank also gives you 1.6%. And what you start to realize is that, yep, they are hovering around that 1.6 range. And you might be wondering, wait, how come I've never heard of these banks? I've never seen them on the streets, or I don't see any of their branches. And that's the reason why they can give such a high interest rates, because they are most likely online banks. They have much lesser overhead costs than the big banks that has high office buildings, ATMs and branches to maintain, and that is why they can give you such a good rate as well. I mean, 1.65 to 0.05, that is really a huge difference. Another concern that you might probably have is that, wait, are you sure these banks are safe? And yes, that is a very valid question, because that is the one that was holding me back from changing to that bank as well. And here is what I found. The Australian government guarantees all deposits up to $250,000 per financial institutions for all local and international authorized deposit-taking institution, which is pretty much saying all the bank there is, which means that the amount that you're probably going to put in your savings account are in some way insured. And I think when I was researching about other countries, they might have a very similar rules that apply as well, which is that government backed this financial institution. Something that you'll also find in common is that these online banks usually have a few requirements to achieve that high interest rate. For example, ING, the bank that I'm using right now that gives 1.65 interest rates, have firstly deposit of $1,000 each month and 5 transactions to actually achieve that high interest rate and zero fee, which firstly could be quite intimidating, but it's actually fairly easy to meet this requirement. First, you can use this as your salary deposit account, which means that whatever active job you have, you can use this account such that your company will be paying your income to this savings account. That means that your $1,000 per month will be met fairly easily. Another way, if you do not want to go through that hassle of doing the paperwork, which is what I did, is the second method of using an automating transfer. An automatic transfer means that every single month it will have a transfer from another bank account to this bank account so that you meet this requirement. And if you don't want to put all the $1,000 in, it's okay, you can always transfer it back out the next day, which is what I usually do. So for example, if I want to just save $600 each month, then I can just transfer in $1,000 at the start of the month, and then the second day of the month, I transfer in out back to the account that I have or any other bank account, $400 out, such that I only have $600 inside my bank account. And there it is. I meet the requirements and yet I have no cost at all. And because this whole thing is automatic, I don't even have to do anything. It just automatically does the work and meet the requirements on its own. It's simple and it really is an ultimate hack to this. So here's really the key message to this video. First, you want to really find the best saving account there is. And the best saving accounts has 3 simple rules, which is high interest rate, not an introductory rate, and no fee attached. Second key point is that your deposits in these banks are relatively safe because they are government insured. And you might have to double check with the country that you are currently in if it applies or not. I think I've also done a bit of research for Indonesia, and I think there are very similar type of laws in place for each of these countries. Because it makes sense. The financial institution has to be government backed in some way, have to be reliable, right? So the third is to actually automate your transfer. This can actually be a really useful thing. It not only so that you can meet the requirement for that high interest rate. And this can actually give you a very nice touch, which is to actually be very disciplined in your savings as well. Because once you deposit your automatic transfer into the savings account, you technically are saving that amount as well. So that is it for this video. If you find value from this video, please do give a thumbs up. Share it to people that you might think will gain value out of this. If you like more of this relatable content, please do consider subscribing to this channel. This is Nikki and I am signing out. I don't know what I'm just saying, okay? Alright, bye bye.